Alright, questions on your homework?
How do you do the table again?
The table, you have
Yeah.
3 columns, 3 rows,
Yeah, it goes like amount, percent, total, right?
okay?
And then,
Solution 1, solution 2, and total
mhm.
solution. That's how the table goes.
Mm,
You need more than that?
I don't know.
You don't know? Well, I don't know if you don't know. 20?
Ooh, can we do 16 before we do 20? Just work down the page.
A isosceles triangle has its base along the x-axis with one base vertex at the origin and the vertex in the first quadrant on the graph of y equals 6 minus x squared. Find the area of a triangle as a function as the length of the base. Alright, so here's our coordinate graph. We got one vertex here. We got the other one on the line 6 minus x squared, and the vertex is in the first quadrant on the graph, so here's the vertex here. No, it's vertex, that's not the other vertex, sorry. Right, the area of the triangle is a function of the length of the base.
Wait, if it's an isosceles triangle, don't both sides have to be equal, so then how is the vertex there? And how did you know to put the...
Isosceles triangle has its base along the x-axis with one base vertex at the origin and its vertex in the first quadrant on the graph of y equals 6 minus x squared. Write the area of the triangle as a function of the length of the base. Alright, area of a triangle, is 1/2 base times height. Correct?
Mhm.
A equals 1/2. What's my base? B? What's my height? If this is 6 minus x squared,
I have no idea.
Like b over 2 and then plug b over 2 forward to the function.
What?
Like the base and like one side equal to the other.
say that again?
Like the height, like the straight dash divide the triangle in half. So the base is equal to each other.
Okay, so that means this is 1/2 B, okay? So we're gonna plug that in for this. Okay? Simplify.
Is that a 6?
Yes, ma'am, it is. Now what?
You multiply the 1/2 into the 6 to get 3b and 1/8
This is-
cubed.
b over 2 times 6 minus b squared over 4. Simplify that, get a common denominator, which is
No idea.
2.
let's just go ahead and multiply these first. b over 2 times 6.
6b2.
3b.
Or 3b squared over. I don't know.
6b.
3b minus
b cubed over the 8th.
now get a common denominator and get them together.
24 over 8.
So 24b minus b cubed over 8.
I'm stupid.
Number 16, one leg of a right triangle is twice as long as the other. Write the length of the hypotenuse is a function of the length of the shorter leg. Here's my right triangle. Here are my two legs. One leg is twice as long as the other, correct? I'm looking for the hypotenuse in terms of the shorter leg. So I have the shorter leg is A. So what's the relationship with my legs of a right triangle?
Huh.
A squared plus 2a squared equals c squared.
Legs of a right triangle, Pythagorean theorem. So when we simplify, we get C equals A squared root of 5. Any other questions?
Did you do 32?
Alright, make our blocks. Oh, so what's in the upper left?
What did you do 20%?
Not in the upper left.
The x.
X. What's in the middle?
20.
And the last?
20x.
What's in the bottom?
25.
Middle?
26. 650.
What's in the middle left?
35. Wait, the middle left? Like, oh, that. Is it 100 minus x?
25 minus x.
5 minus x.
Correct.
Here?
35.
Here?
35 times 25 minus x.
Alright, so we're gonna do what with these?
And equal to 1.
Multiply. 35 times 25.
875.
This sounds familiar. Did we do this already?
We did it in part of. It was the one you showed us as an example.
Okay. Oops. So we got 15 liters of, is it liters? Liters of 20%, and then 10 liters of 35%. Whoops, 10.
How do you know like which things goes in which box?
What do we find? Oh, here?
Yeah.
It's up to you. This is always the total. So they told us we want to have a total of 25, so that one goes there. Percentages go with the totals. So what was the total percent? It says 26. Here, it doesn't matter. You can put X down here or X up there, it doesn't matter. And then you know that the 20 goes with the X and the 35 goes with, if this is X and this is 25, what does this have to be? Alright, same thing we talked about the other day. If I had $100 and I have 90, how much do you have? 10. If I have $100, if we have $100 between us and I have X dollars, how much do you have? If we both have $100 and I have X dollars, how much do you have? If we both have $100 and I have X dollars, how much do you have? Doesn't help her if you tell her. Okay? Or we're doing the same thing. If I had $100, or if we both have $100 and I had 90, how much did you have? How did you figure that out?
Subtract.
Alright, so if you and I have $200 and I have X, how much do you have?
21.
Correct. Alright, so it's the same. If we have the total and we have a part, how do we find the other part? We're gonna subtract them. Alright, if we have the total and we have the other part, what are we gonna do? We're gonna subtract them. Alright, any other questions? 36. Renee's decorated surface recommends putting border on the top of the four walls in a dining room that is 3 feet longer than it's wide. Find the dimensions of the room if the total length of the border is 54 feet. Alright, here's the 4 rooms. Alright, what do they tell us about the width and the length?
Width is X, and then length is 3 plus X.
What do they tell me about the perimeter?
It equals 54.
How do we find perimeter?
Side plus, well, length plus width plus length, or length plus 2L plus 2W.
Correct. So that's gonna be 2x plus 6 plus 2x equals 54. 4x equals 48, x equals 12. So the dimensions of the room are?
12 and 15.
12 by 15, 12 feet by 15 feet.
Does it matter how you say it? Can you also say 15 by 12?
That's fine. Mm-hmm. Yep, perfect.
Can we do 40?
Number 40. Jackie invests $25,000, part of 5.5% annual interest, in the balance at 8.3% interest. How much is invested at each rate if Jackie receives a 1-year interest payment of $1,551? All right. So again, you could use this. You could use the same box if you wanted to. Is how we do simple interest.
What?
How do we do simple interest? How do we find simple interest?
Multiply the percentage
By
of money.
the principal. So principal times rate. PR equals I. So you could use the same box if you wanted to, because it is a mixture. What was the total amount invested?
25,000.
$25,000. Alright, what was the total interest received?
1571.
Well, how much did she invest in the first interest?
5.5%.
That was a percentage. But how much did she invest?
Oh,
Did they tell you?
No, it's X.
no,
So it's X.
yeah.
How much did she invest in this second interest? At what percent?
8.3.
Alright, so therefore, what's my equation?
What do you, it would be 5.5x times 8, well, plus 8.3 times 25,000 minus x.
Equals?
1571.
8.3 times 25,000.
I'll tell you here in a second. It is 207,500.
207,000.
500.
8.3 minus 5.5 minus 8.3 is 2.8, correct? 207,500 minus 1571.
What was the question?
207,500 minus 1571.
205,929.
205,
1,929.
and then we're gonna divide by 2.8.
Divide by 2.8. 73,54,6.07.
Is that correct?
I got different numbers.
That's not correct. What'd you get? Amy,
The percentages.
I got different numbers.
18,000.
Yeah.
what's that?
I got 18,000
18,000,
at 7.5.
For
The percentages are still in the wrong form.
Oh, I put the percentage in the wrong form.
It should be 0.055 and 0.083.
correct.
Well, now I gotta redo my math.
Right, Gary.
Because I didn't have a percentage here. That's why I had to put it back in the percentage. You're correct.
Someone knows what they're doing.
Wouldn't it just be 0.55 instead of 0.055?
What's that?
Wouldn't it just be 0.55, not 0.055?
Got point zero, because I had to move it two places.
No, I'm not having to say.
Amy, what do you get for an answer? 18
18,000.
even?
Yeah. At 5.5%.
So you got 18,000 5.5, we have 7,000 at 8.3%. Make sense? I messed up. Any other questions? Very good. All right, pass those forward, please. Turn to page 152.
We have tests tomorrow.
Yes, ma'am, you do.
Is it? I'm trying to make sure.
Well, I just knew it was in my one, so I did. I did that page.
Okay.
Shown here, first page.
The same thing.
There you go. Do you need the homework from yesterday? Or not yesterday, Friday?
Did I collect Friday's homework?
No.
Hang on. after that.
Is this test over all except for you?
Yes.
Oh.
All right, if you look on page 153, 152, 153. All right, just a real quick review here. You need to be able to tell the domain and the range of a function. You find the domain and range, you be able to find the discontinuities of a function. You be able to tell if it's a removable, a jump, or an infinite. You need to be able to tell where it's increasing or decreasing. You need to be able to tell if it's bounded or unbounded. You need to be able to determine if it's a local maximum, local minimum, and where it's at, and what's its value. You need to be able to tell the symmetry, even or odd. You need to be able to find horizontal and vertical asymptotes. That's all section 1.2. 1.3, recognize the different types of functions, the 12 basic functions. All right, you had a quiz where you had to write them. It would also help you when you take your test tomorrow, you write them. Most likely that's going to be part of your test, to be able to sketch those graphs.
Do we need to know the end behavior?
Yes? You need to be able to sketch a piecewise function.
Wait, sketch a what?
Piecewise function, where you have three functions put together. You graph them according to the restraints that they give you. You got to be able to build functions, add, subtract, multiply, and divide, and compositions. You need to be able to find the inverse. You need to be able to describe transformations. And you need to be able to solve word problems. So basically 1.2 to 1.7. 1.2 to 1.7. All right, page 152. Letter A, f of x equals x squared minus 1. Which graph is that showing? 1 through 10.
Y equals x squared.
F of x equals x
Oh.
squared minus 1. Which graph is that showing?
That would be
9. Alright, because the graph has moved down 1, because we subtract 1 from the function. Letter B, x squared plus 1. Which function is that?
number 1.
No.
I mean number 5.
5.
Sorry,
Letter C, f of x equals x minus 2 squared.
number 1. Right?
8.
No.
Number 8.
It goes opposite.
Letter D, f of x equals x plus 2 squared.
1.
No.
Number 1. Letter E, f of x equals x minus 1 over 2.
Yeah, very,
Which one?
very.
No. This is the same thing as f of x equals 1/2 x minus 1/2.
10.
Number 10, it's a linear equation, linear. Alright, look at your graph, look at your functions, make sure you know which one we're talking about. Letter F, f of x equals absolute value of x minus 2.
2.
Number 2. Letter G, f of x equals absolute value of x plus 2.
Number 7.
7. Letter H, f of x equals negative sine x. 4, we flipped over the x-axis. F of x equals e to the x minus 1. 3. And then you have f of of x equals 1 plus cosine x. Cosine x moved up 1 spot. Alright, very good. Number 11, what's the domain? X cubed.
All real numbers.
All real numbers, what's my range? All real numbers, what does it look like?
It's
Alright, yes?
Blue line.
Yep, elongated S.
it's a cubing function.
Number 12, f of x equals 35x minus 602, what's my domain? All real numbers, what's my range? What kind of function is it? Linear. Number 13, g of x equals x squared plus 2x plus 1. What kind of function is this?
All whole numbers. 0 and 2 infinity.
Or what kind of function is it?
That was an absolute value.
What kind of function is it called? What's the function called? Squaring function. Right, the squared function. Alright, so what we need to do, we need to put this in standard form. So we want to factor this, x squared plus 2x plus 1.
So x plus 1.
Plus 2 plus 1.
Could just be x plus 1.
No, it's just
What's that?
X plus 1, x minus 1?
Nope.
It's the same thing.
X plus 1 squared. Remember, if you had the first term of perfect square, the last term of perfect square, we have a perfect square trinomial. So when you factor it down into a binomial squared, take the square root of the first term, square root of the third term. Put the sign in between and square it. So we got x plus 1 squared. What's my domain?
-1.
All reals. Remember a quadratic function. Alright, parabola, we can use any values of x. What's my range? 0 to infinity. Did it move up or down? No, so it stayed at 0, so we're going from 0 to infinity. Number 14, x minus 2 squared plus 5. What kind of function do we have? Squaring function. What's my domain? All real numbers. What's my range here? What's that? 5 to infinity, because it moved up 5. 15, g of x equals 3 absolute value of x plus 8. What kind of function do I have here?
Absolute value.
Absolute value. What's my domain? All real numbers. What's my range?
8 to infinity.
8 to infinity. Number 16, negative square root of 4 minus x squared. What's my domain?
X is greater than or equal
Negative plus 4.
4 plus 4.
plus or minus 4. X less than.
X is plus or minus 2. Because you have to take.
Is it an I?
You have to take the square root of it. X is greater than 2.
Don't you gotta refer?
What kind of function is that?
The square root. Squaring.
4 minus x squared. What kind of function is that?
Even.
Squaring.
Squaring function. What does the parabola look like?
Upside down.
It's upside down. Alright? And for it to be a square root, I have to be what? See, this is in the square root. This has to be what?
What do you mean it has to be what?
My domain has to be what?
All real number.
Everything above 4.
If I have a square root, to find my domain, whatever's inside the radical has to be what?
Greater than or equal to 0.
Greater than or equal to 0. If this is my parabola, 4 minus x squared, what numbers are greater than or equal to 0?
-4 to 4.
I need to know what those points are.
2.
And
Negative 2.
2 and negative
Take the
2.
square root of it.
So therefore, what's my domain?
Negative 2 to 2.
Negative 2 to 2.
I think I've been looking at that the whole time wrong. So the part you squiggle is the part that you use.
Correct. That's the part that's greater than or equal to 0.
I was thinking that it
Alright,
was-
because this is negative, this is what happened to this square root function? It's flipped. So therefore, what is my, because basically what my graph looks like, it looks like this. But when I flip it, it looks like this. So what is my range?
Negative 2 to
What'd you say, Abby? Or Gabby, rather?
Negative 2 to infinity.
Not quite.
Negative 2 to 0.
Negative 2 to 0. Negative 2 to 0 is my range.
Where are you getting like negative two?
Leave it numbers.
Because my radius here is 2, right? If I put 0 in for x, what do I get?
You get 2.
4 minus 0 is 4, square root of 4 is 2, minus negative 2. So you can check that way as well. On number 17, what kind of function do I have?
Reciprocal?
It is close to a reciprocal function, but if I look at this,
Can't you cross out the x's or something?
well, I want to factor first. Now what happens?
You take the x's away?
Take the x's away. Now it looks like the reciprocal function, 1 over x minus 2. What has happened to the reciprocal function? Looks like what?
The,
That there?
yeah,
Alright, what has happened to this reciprocal function?
it moves to the left,
And to the right.
right two.
And I have a hole where?
0.
And 0. So therefore, what's my domain?
0. Negative infinity to 0. 0 to infinity.
Close, not quite.
0 to negative.
We go from here to here. And then we go from here to here. Then we go from here to here.
It's negative infinity to 0. 0 to negative 2. Or to 2. Sorry, not negative 2. And then 2 to infinity.
Alright, 0 to negative infinity to 0, 0 to 2, and 2 to infinity. Alright, with none of those points included. Correct?
Mm.
Number 18, 1 over 9 minus x squared.
So wouldn't it just be 1 over 3 minus x?
No,
No, you can't factor it.
what's my domain here?
Negative 3 to 3.
Negative 3 to 3. But because it's in the denominator, do I want it included?
Yes.
No. Remember, this is for when x, this denominator here is greater than or equal to 0. Because in the denominator, it can't be 0. So therefore, I do not want to include the negative 3 and 3. So just negative 3 and 3.
Wait, then explain why you don't want to include it.
Because this is in, before it was in the numerator, so it could be equal to 0. But now because it's in the denominator, what do we know about the denominator? It cannot be 0. So we cannot include negative 3. Because if I put negative 3 in, negative 3 squared is? 9 minus 9 is? Square root of 0 is? 1 divided by 0, can I do that? No, so I can't use 3. Can't use negative 3. So my domain is just negative 3 to 3. Not included. Alright? And then my range. Technically this graph looks like this. That's what my graph looks like. My range is going to be
0 to infinity? Or no,
3 to infinity.
1 to infinity?
if I put 0 in for x, what do I get?
0, 1 over.
You get 3.
I get
1 over 3.
1 over 3. So that's that point right there. So what's my range?
1/3 to infinity.
1/3 to infinity. So you have to draw yourself some pictures, look at your graphs, to be able to find. If you have to use your calculator here, that's fine. Use your calculator, because we'll get better at that as we move on. Alright, 19 and 20. graph the function, state whether the function is continuous at 0. If it's discontinuous, state whether discontinuity is removable or non-removable. Alright, so number 19. Do I have a factor on the top like I have on the bottom? No. So therefore, is it removable or non-removable?
Non-removable.
Non-removable. Do I have a discontinuity at 0?
No.
No, because at 0 is defined, correct? If I plug a 0 in, I get -3/2, so it's defined there. Where do I have a discontinuity?
-2.
At -2. And here it would be not a removable, but -2 is what type of asymptote?
Vertical.
Vertical, which my vertical asymptotes always look like this. And what kind of what kind of discontinuity is it?
Removable. Non-removable.
What kind of non-removable? We have removable, we have infinite, we have jump, and we have oscillating. Which one is this?
Infinite.
Infinite, when it goes to positive infinity and negative infinity, going either direction. Number 20, 2x plus 3 when x is greater than 0. There, and 3 minus x squared when x is less than 0. There. Do I have a discontinuity at 0?
Yes. No.
No, I do not have a discontinuity at 0.
Why not?
Is there a hole there?
No, but
No. I can take my pen and not lift up my pen, so it's not discontinuous there. Alright, so the one graph starts where the other one left off. That's basically what happened. Okay? Alright, 21 to 24, find all vertical asymptotes and horizontal asymptotes. Alright, 21, vertical asymptotes. Vertical asymptotes come from where? The denominator. We're going to do what to the denominator? But we have to do what to it? Starts with an F. Factor. X squared minus 5x factors down into what? So therefore my vertical asymptotes are what?
0 and 5.
What are my vertical asymptotes?
x is 0.
X equals 0 and
X equals 5.
x equals 5. Alright, my horizontal asymptote comes from where?
Enumerator.
Leading terms. Alright, any form of 1 over x would be what? Y equals 0. Anything it simplifies to, it would be y, whatever it simplifies to. Alright, so number 21, my horizontal asymptote would be what? What's that? Y equals 0. Y equals 0. 22, vertical asymptotes.
X equals 4.
X equals 4. Horizontal asymptote.
3.
What is it? Y equals 3. Y equals 3. Alright? Numbers 23. Vertical asymptotes. Is there any value that makes the denominator 0?
No.
No, so there's no vertical asymptotes. Alright? Horizontal asymptotes. No.
It would be 7. Right?
Y equals 7. Okay, you take the leading terms, it's square root of x squared, right?
Yeah, so it'd just be x.
X?
7x over x.
Which is
7.
7. Alright, number 24, horizontal, vertical asymptote.
-1.
X equals -1. Alright? So review. You got some quizzes that you can look over, then you got your section review. But I would not just depend on these pages here. I'll go back to the lessons and look at the section review sections and look at the problems there and make sure you know how to do each and every problem.
Did we get those last quizzes back?
Yes, sir, you can.
What's the difference between negating and reflecting?
Negating is reflecting. If you negate the function, you reflect the graph.
Thank you.
Yep.
So now to get pulled out and put in negate.
Because I need to hear reflection.
So if I put it down, it needs to reflect.
What's that?
So when I write it, it's reflect.
If you tell me the transformation, you tell me it's a reflection. If you tell me what did I do to the function, then you tell me you negated.
Can I put reflect below?
No. 'Cause you didn't reflect the function, you negated the function. What did you do to the graph? You got two different things. You get the function, f of x equals whatever,